good evening. I'm coming on to talk to you tonight about why our kids should be making their own school lunches as part of my school lunchbox challenge. So I'll wait to see who joins me. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It turned into a gorgeous evening, actually. It was a bit manky earlier on this morning, but it's turned into a really nice evening. So thank you to everybody who's joined me so far. You're very welcome along. So have you all seen what my challenge is for the next few weeks? I am challenging all your children from junior infants up to make their own school lunches come September. Now, I want to explain to you why I am doing that. It's probably a bit obvious, but anyway, I just thought I would come along and tell you why I think it's really important for the kids to be making their own school lunches. Now, it's going to be quite short, so guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments. I'll be putting my glasses on and off because sometimes I can't see anything without them, but sometimes they annoy me when I have them on. So for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking all about school lunches because it is that time. And there'll be recipes, there will be other live chats with other people in the kind of the kid food industry that you might be familiar with. I'll be on Ireland AM next week talking about it as well, and I will also be on the radio next week talking about it. So I want to help you guys get ready for back to school and school lunches, because I know it's a pain for parents. It certainly is a pain for me, or it used to be a pain for me. So, 3 main reasons why I think it's really important for our kids to be making their own school lunches. First reason is so we don't have to do it. That is the reason why I started getting my kids to make their own school lunches, basically so I didn't have to do it. Because I used to make them the night before, and you'd be making the dinner, clean up after the dinner, and then you have to get into start making the school lunches, and it was just a pain. Now, if I left it till the morning was so stressful. Generally, when the kids were younger, now it's fine now, but when the kids were younger, it was so stressful because I had a bedwetter, so he had to be washed every morning. Sheets had to be taken off the bed every morning. You're trying to get 3 kids up, dressed, washed, fed, and out the door. So I used to always make them the night before. I wouldn't sleep properly if they weren't made the night before. So I knew that they had something going to school. But then I was like, why am I doing this? They are well capable of making their own school lunches. So they started, I remember Charlie was 6. Charlie's now 11. So Charlie was 6. He was in senior infants when he started making his school lunch. So for anybody in the UK, I think obviously your school age, I know you guys go to school at age 4, so be around your 2nd year in school. Now he probably could have made it from junior infants, which is from 5. He could have made his lunch from then, but I never even thought about it. But once I thought about it and they started making them, I'm like, oh my good God, this is such a weight off my shoulders. I don't have to make them. And it frees you up to do other things. So yes, in the beginning, it's going to take a little bit of time to get your kids into the routine. It'll take them a little bit of time to get used to doing it. But I'm telling you now, this me is so glad for the me 5 years ago that got my kids to start making their school lunches, because I have not had to make them for 5 years. Okay? So that's why this is for you parents out there who find the school lunches a pain. Some of you might love making them, that's fine. But for those of you who find it a pain and a real challenge and boring and all those other things that you guys have told me before that you feel about lunchboxes, stop doing it. Get the kids to make them. Okay, that is number 1 reason, so we don't have to do them. The second reason is because they will eat what they make. So we have to consider that before we let them at it and before they start making, crisp sandwiches for their lunch with a side of 16 biscuits, whatever, Coke in their water bottles or whatever, So if your child is a really fussy eater and will only eat a ham and cheese sandwich in their lunch, that's such an easy sandwich to make. Let them make it. Just let them make it. Don't be stressing about it, okay? Because I know we as parents are stressed about, oh my God, he or she has the same lunch going into school every day. Yeah, so what? It's better that they eat that lunch than that you try to be putting new things into their lunchbox every second day and the lunches are coming home uneaten. There's no benefit to a non-eaten lunch. It's not getting into their tummy. They're not getting the nutrition from it. Whereas at least if they're eating a ham and cheese sandwich, they're getting the protein and they're getting the carbohydrates and they're getting the nutrition from that ham and cheese sandwich. When they come home, that's when you can start pumping the nutrition into them in other ways. That's acceptable for them at home. Okay, I've gone off on a tangent there. But they eat what they make, okay? So Charlie loves a tuna sandwich, so he'll make himself a tuna sandwich. And I know every day that he's eating that because he made it himself. It's what he likes. The lunchbox comes home empty. I'm not trying to faff around and make faffy sandwiches for him that I'm not sure whether he'll eat or not. I used to, but now I don't. So your child will eat what they make. It's the same with anything in cooking. Your child will eat what they make 80% of the time. Now the trick is to not let them have free reign at the in the kitchen. So as I said, so that they're not bringing in crisp sandwiches or cans of Coke or whatever. So this goes back to, if you've ever heard me talk before about the division of responsibility in feeding. So this goes back to the division of responsibility in feeding, where you as the parent provide the food that you want your child to eat. So for example, in my house, I don't provide crisps. So as a result, the kids can't bring crisps to school. I don't provide chocolate bars. So as a result, they can't bring chocolate bars to school. We don't have jam in the house unless I make it myself. So what I would normally have is I'd have cheese, I'd have tuna, there's eggs there, we'd have soup, there's leftover dinner. Sometimes Maggie would often take leftover dinner for in a flask. So they can only bring what I provide. So that is really important for you to understand before you start letting them make their own lunches, is that you have to step in and provide them with the food that you want them to eat, and then they choose from that or whatever, and they make the lunches out of that. Does that make sense? Stop me if you have any questions whatsoever. Because otherwise it's going to be a bit of a free-for-all and you'll end up going into school with crazy stuff. So I don't provide any crap, so they can't take any crap into school. That's where that goes. Okay, so number one is, if they make their own school lunches, you don't have to make them. Number two is, if they make their own school lunches, they 80% tend to eat their school lunches and they don't come home empty, or they don't come home full. Now, apart from, there are other issues at play around school lunches that may mean that they will come home uneaten, such as they don't have time to eat them. That's a whole other issue, okay? But if they're making their school lunches, they like what they will know what they've made. They will only make something that they like, so they're much more likely to eat it, okay? The third reason is the reason that it's just a great and easy meal for them to make by themselves. So it incorporates all those skills, those kitchen skills that are really important for them. So it teaches them independence in the kitchen. It gets them used to being in the kitchen and working in the kitchen, working with knives. You can, of course, use the safe knives that I sell. As you know, for younger kids, you know, from going into school, starting school, junior, senior infants, all the way up to second or third class when they can start using bigger knives. So yeah, teach them confidence in the kitchen, just teaches them about food and teaches them about, where is the cheese? The cheese is in the fridge. Okay, very basic stuff. You could even get them involved from a very young age, helping do the grocery shopping. you know, when you go to the grocery shop, say, well, what do you want? What fruits do you want in your lunchbox this week? Do you want oranges, apples, pears, bananas? I'm not keen about bananas in lunchboxes for obvious reasons. They're so messy. Get them involved in that stage. If they're very young, what you can do, so I'm talking about if they're only starting school, for example, what you can do is, and I know a lot of people say to me, oh no, they're too young, you know, there's no way they can yes, they can get involved. They can decide, for example, what they want in their sandwich. So you can say to them, do you want chicken or do you want ham in your sandwich? They can help make the sandwich. I work with kids from age 3 up all the time, and I can see what they do all the time in my classes, using the knives, using the peelers, using food. They are well capable. Don't underestimate them. So, and then even at those very young ages, they can do things like counting out the blueberries, for example, decanting yogurt maybe into a little pot. You can incorporate language skills, like, you know, do it in Irish if your child is learning Irish. Do it in French if they're learning French or Spanish or whatever, or get them to spell the foods. There's loads and loads and loads of really good learning that can come out of them making their school lunch, as well as all about the food education. Learning about food, you know, get different breads. You can show them that different breads are made in different ways. You can talk about different chicken, different ways you can have chicken in a sandwich, all those kind of things. But it's a really straightforward, simple meal that children can make themselves and have some ownership of it. And it's a great first meal for them to do. So I am going to see that's basically it. They are the reasons why I think it's really valuable for children to be making their own school lunches. 1, you don't have to. 2, they eat what they make. And 3, it teaches them a whole range of kitchen skills and gets them started on the journey to enjoying being in the kitchen. So does anybody have any questions? Dun, dun. Any questiones? Thank you so much to everybody for coming along. There's going to be lots more content coming up about school lunches, about what to put in them, about different recipes, and there'll be competitions. And for those of you who just joined, you may not realise I have a back to school lunchbox challenge going on where I want your kids to start making their own school lunches. What age should they start at? They can start from the time they start school. That's what I think, because as I was saying, I work with kids from age 3 upwards, so that's before they've even started school. I work with kids in preschools all the time, and I know what they're capable of doing. And us parents are like, oh no, they couldn't possibly. Yes, they can. And if we let them do it now, it's like everything. We're future-proofing them. We are setting them up for success in the kitchen. So, and we're setting them up for ourselves so we don't have to do it. You know, you're setting yourself up to give yourself extra time as they get older and as they get used to making it, and then it just becomes second nature. Like in my house, it's just, they just make them. There's never any question about it. I don't have to say, I might say to them, have you made your lunches? And they'd be like, yeah. Except for like Maggie only likes to make hers in the morning, and she's such a lazy head in the morning. It's always a stress. But anyway, that's a whole nother issue. So we won't even go there. But yeah, from that age, from the time they start school, and even when they're in preschool, they can be involved, as I was talking earlier on, about letting them choose the type of bread they want, let them count out the blueberries, the strawberries, pick what fruit they want, get them involved. That helps them to be independent. It gives them some ownership over the food and over the meal, and they're more likely to eat it. End of story. And I am going to sign out unless anybody has any questions for me. Let me know what you think. Will you let your kids make their own school lunches? I would love to know. I'll be putting up polls throughout over the next couple of weeks to see how what you think. Finding out what you guys do. Do you already do this? I know some people do. I know a lot of people don't. And I know some of it is that we need to let go of that, oh, it has to be a perfect lunch. No, it doesn't have to be a perfect lunch. It just has to be food that they're going to eat to sustain them through the school day. We can give them all the nutrition that might be slightly lacking in their lunchbox outside of the school day when maybe they're more comfortable, they're at home, they're not dealing with all the stuff that's going on in school. So lunchboxes don't have to be perfect, okay? They just need to be something that they're going to eat, and getting them to make their own will ensure that they will eat it. 80%. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. And I will be saving this obviously as a oh, Lou, brilliant, well done. Lou said she's going to get her kids involved this September. So well done, Lou. Delighted to hear it. Keep me posted on how they get on. And yeah, so I'll save this live and you can go back and watch it. And yeah, keep tuned for lots more content to come. Thank you so much, guys. Bye. Have a nice evening.